Oh, I hope do not press means press right away.
You're listening to the show, So There I Was, episode number 24. Who do we have this week, Fig?
We have the Lawman. The Lawman.
The Lawman. He had the right to remain silent. Fortunately, he did not. What a natural storyteller. We spent 5.5 hours talking to Lawman over 2 recording sessions. So, folks, there's going to be a lot of shows with Lawman. We may intersperse a couple other shows.
The time went so fast with him.
It did. He is a fascinating guy to talk to. Spoiler alert right here. One of the highlights of his career was flying with the Blue Angels, number 2 Blue Angels. The stories on the Blue Angels alone, I was howling at some of the things that happened.
His experiences were incredible.
Apparently, Lawman sucked.
Well, he'll tell you they gave him a hard time. He's the only Marine on the team, right, not counting the Fat Edward guys. So he took a lot of razzing, and they it's good. I'm not going to spoil it. It's not going to spoil it.
I will say this: it was creative and hilarious what they did to that man. I'm excited. But this show is the Lieutenant Savoy incident, show 24. Lawman played a practical joke, and it almost cost him his career.
Another awesome story, Lieutenant Savoy incident.
And we go into how he got to be Lawman. It was very close that he was Barney or Festus.
Could have been a lot worse.
But that's it for the show. That's preview for the show.
Preamble?
But there's a couple other announcements we've got here. First of all, we have gotten in touch with and been cleared hot to use the music of Dos Gringos.
Dos Gringos.
Not safe for work, folks. Don't blare them loudly on your desk at work. There's an F-bomb or two in their songs, but really, really fun music.
Well, a little background on Dos Gringos. They were actually Air Force pilots, right?
Yep, they were Viper drivers.
Air Force fighter pilots.
Yep.
And their music is tactically oriented. Let's just put it that way. It is good. It's good music.
Yeah. And let's see, what else? You got something in the mail since last we spoke.
Yes, I did. From our sponsor.
Yeah, robinsbirdbraindesign.com.
And so I'm not going to disclose too much in case one of the recipients of my Christmas present or Christmas present to be is listening. But it is outstanding. Nice. Squadron emblem, got call signs and names on a piece of slate, and very well done. I couldn't have asked for better, and they're fantastic. I can't wait to give them out.
All right, we've been chatting way too long here. Usually we try to keep this to a couple minutes, and we are past that. So sit back, buckle up, make sure you're not sitting on the ejection handle, and listen to the Lieutenant Savoy incident, episode 24.
Strap that Viper to catapult and watch that sucker fly. 200 knots in under 2 seconds, that's my kind of fun. Do a barrel roll right after takeoff, just like in Top Gun. But I don't want to land. Allow me to explain and you'll understand.
So there I was.
Which is how all great aviation stories start. Hey, welcome everybody. This is Fig. I'm in Kearney, Missouri, and my cohorse repeat is where?
I'm home tonight, Lee, New Hampshire. So yeah, welcome everybody to the show. We're thrilled to have a special guest tonight. I may say to you, sir, you have the right to remain silent, but I hope you choose not to. None other than Lawman. Lawman, welcome to our show. We are thrilled to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Fig.
I'm excited to hear these stories.
Yeah, we got to start with the question that we ask everybody, but I know you've got a million stories. This could go long, in which case we'll break it up, and we'll certainly respect your time. So if you need to go, or if you need to take a break or anything, say so. We'll make that happen, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
So the first question we ask everybody is, how is it that you came to fly airplanes? How did you become interested in aviation?
Well, certainly, my dad, I was born and raised in the Army, so my dad was an Army Green Beret, 82nd Airborne, was born in Fort Bragg, not too far from here in New Bern, North Carolina. So raised an Army brat, grew up around the world, went to 16 different schools, first grade through high school. he was a Green Beret, 3 tours and I'm highly decorated. So nothing to do with aviation, except maybe jumping out of airplanes. But he retired out of Fort Huachuca, Arizona, my sophomore year in high school. We moved to Phoenix, Chandler. And if you recall from back in the day, Chandler Air Force Base, Williams Air Force Base in Chandler was a undergraduate pilot training base for the Air Force. So
Okay.
T-37s, Tweets, T-38s, and even F-5s there for a while because they were training foreign pilots in the F-5, including Iranians back in the 70s.
Yep.
So I'm in Chandler and I'm seeing these F-5s, T-38s, T-37s, flying overhead, make a lot of noise, look cool as heck. And we go to the base to shop, commissary and exchange. Nearest to military base was Williams Air Force Base. I'm seeing these cool looking Air Force pilots in flight suits and fast cars and sometimes good looking women hanging out with them going, those guys look pretty damn cool. That looks pretty neat. So I really got interested, inspired to fly. Thank you. U.S. Air Force undergraduate pilot training sparked my interest in flying airplanes, watching those guys. But I thought it was kind of out of reach. I go, hey, that's something I can't. That's something unattainable. But
that's something other people do. I get that,
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I felt the same way.
Yeah. So I went to college and I talked to an Air Force recruiter. And at that time, he told me, we're looking for engineers. Are you studying engineering? I go, no, I'm studying criminal justice. And he pretty much laughed at me almost and no thanks. But one day I'm in front of the college dormitory and all the services come to colleges recruit, which they do to high schools. And a gunnery sergeant, just one gunnery sergeant with a folding card table sat up in front of the college dormitory early one morning after I just run cross country mornings practice. And he stood there with some pamphlets and just dared us to come talk to him. Didn't call us over, just ignored us.
Nice.
So I'm standing in line with all these other college kids, and I felt kind of sorry for the guy. So I walked over and, my dad's retired Army first sergeant. Started talking to his gunnery sergeant. Zuccarelli, Gunny Z. He worked for the OSO out of Phoenix. Nice. And starts talking to me about, you probably don't have what it takes to be a Marine anyway, so he kind of throws down the gauntlet and
baiting you.
Marine Corps is not for everybody, hardcore. You got to really be strong physically, mentally, and all that. And he said, but are you interested in flying? I go, yeah, actually, I am interested in flying. I had no idea that the Marine Corps even had airplanes. I didn't know that as an Army brat. He showed me all these color brochures of jets. This is back in, 78, 79. So, Phantoms, A4s, A6s, the Bronco, and of course, helicopters, Cobras, and all that stuff. And I agreed to meet him after breakfast and take the test, flight aptitude test. Apparently I passed that somehow, some miracle, and went through the whole application process and ended up getting a contract, standard platoon leader course air contract. So my freshman year in college, the Marine Corps gives me a contract, says, hey, you get through college, you go to officer candidate school, you go to the basic school, we will send you to flight school. Pretty good deal, right?
Good deal. Good
That's why I signed up, just to some gunnery sergeant standing in front of a card table.
Beautiful.
There I was.
That's awesome. That's, I've ventured to guess there's a lot of Marine pilots walking around today with very similar circumstances.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You mentioned something in passing, though, real quickly. To go down this rabbit hole a little bit before we circle back. You were majoring in criminal justice, which led you to another interesting job for a little while before you wound up in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Arizona Highway Patrol. So that kind of came out as a roundabout way too. I'm a freshman in college. Got through my freshman year running cross country track. Got injured, had a knee injury. So I was, I'm a poor college student on a partial scholarship, painting houses, walking coaches' dogs and work study, selling basketball tickets at the college basketball games and struggling financially a little bit. My sophomore year comes around and the Arizona Highway Patrol came recruiting, just like the military. And one of my college professors said, hey, this would be a great experience if you would go listen to what they had to say and go take their written examination. It's a great civil service exam and do the interview if you qualify and get through that whole interview process. Great experience, no desire for the job at the time. So I went and took the written test in Casa Grande, Arizona, and I passed like 80%. You pass, they give you a slot. Come back this afternoon at, 2:30 for an interview. And it was a 6v1 interview with all these police officers, highway patrolmen. And everybody else in the waiting room area in the hallway, they wanted to be a state trooper. These are ex-military guys or current police officers or 30-some-year-old dudes. I'm a 19-year-old, I think, college student. Didn't want the job, just wanted the experience. So I had no pressure, if you will. I go in the interview and I get grilled about different stuff and scenarios. And later that evening, I'm back in my dormitory and I get a knock on the door, and the major who ran the board says, "Hey, if everything you told us today is true, you're not bullshitting us, we're going to do a background check. You will probably be a state trooper. Probably going to hire you." So I ended up going through he taught me into going through the whole process. Background check, polygraph examination, had to go run a physical fitness test, which, of course, I'd already been through PLC Junior. So if you can run a Marine Corps O course, you can run the Arizona Highway Patrol O course.
Right. There you go.
And so I went through the polygraph. The biggest problem for me was the polygraph. They were convinced that everybody in Arizona who had gone to high school, especially near the border towns like I did in Sierra Vista, had smoked marijuana at some point.
Sure.
And they did not believe I had not smoked marijuana. And I never had. So they kept coming back to.
How is that possible?
Yeah, come on. And he kept, I'm going to start the machine right now. No bullshit. I know you've at least taken one toke of a marijuana cigarette. Come on, man. I said, no. So he kept coming back to the marijuana. And what almost tripped me up really was, at one point he said, "Hey, have you ever stolen anything of value?" I said, well, like these are not candy bars as a kid. As an adult, have you stolen anything? I said, "Yes, actually I have." He goes, "What?" I'm on wired to a polygraph machine.
Yeah.
I said, books, college books. He goes, "College books?" "Yeah, from the college bookstore." I said, "What kind of books?" I said, "Criminal justice books." He goes, "What?"
Stop thief.
Yeah, I said, "These books are really expensive. I couldn't afford them." So I would go to the college bookstore and I was stealing these $60, $70 college books for college classes. So but because I was honest enough to admit that, I got hired. So I went through the whole process, and on Christmas break in my sophomore year, the Highway Patrol called me and offered me a job. And being a broke college student, I was in my mom's kitchen and said, "Hey, what are they paying?" They said, like $19,000 to start as a cadet. My mom said, "Take it."
That's real money.
So I quit school. Yeah, joined the Arizona Highway Patrol. Had to wait. So I was a gopher, a trainee, until I was old enough to go to the academy, because you had to be 21 years of age to be a sworn police officer.
Okay.
So they timed it so that I was 21 by the time I graduated at the academy. And then I got sent down to Casa Grande, Arizona, Pinal County, FTO, which is kind of like a field training officer, kind of like being on probation, like OE with the airlines.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you're on 1 year probation, but you're on your own. Arizona Highway Patrol, they give you a patrol car, a shotgun, a pistol, first aid kit, and they cut you loose after training. They go, "Hey, go out there and enforce the laws of the state of Arizona."
21 years old.
21 years old, license to still drive like a maniac, do my best James Bond, I had
Gun and a badge. What was the unit you were driving? What would they?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, my first car. It's a great question, Fix. And my first car, you don't get, if you're a rookie, you don't get a nice car,
Right.
So I show up to Casa Grande, Arizona. My Sergeant Bob Aguilar, big guy, says, "Oh, here's your car." And it was a piece of shit 1977 Dodge Monaco. Now it was cool because it was all jacked up and it looked fast as hell, right? And it was, it might have done 130 maybe, but had a really bad cooling system. So it got overheated, it tended to overheat. So I get my first car and I'm looking at it, walking around. They go, "Hey, where's my cage?" The cage you expect, right?
Right.
You know what he told me? He says, "Only pussies need cages. Real men don't need cages." You cuff your prisoner behind the back, and you seatbelt him in right next to you in the right front passenger seat. If he's really a badass, if you're right-handed, take your service revolver out. We carried revolvers back then.
Yeah.
And stick it underneath your leg and sit on it so he can't grab your gun. So no cage, riding around with sometimes real badasses and right next to the handcuff next to you, picking them up and go to jail. So that was, so I did that for the rest of my college. I went back to school at Arizona State, re-enrolled, got back in the PLC program, thankfully, because thankfully I was the Commandant's Trophy recipient in my PLC juniors.
Show's over. We got another one, Fake.
No. Anyway,
There's two of you guys now we've interviewed that have been Commandant Trophy winners.
Yeah. Well, if you can run, if you can PT, day one. And my dad was a Green Beret. I was raised by a combat veteran Green Beret. So I was, yes, sir, no, sir, 2 bags full, sir. They like that.
All right.
So it was pretty, OCS is fairly easy. Mostly,
that's awesome.
The hardest part of OCS is keep from laughing at what was going on around me. But so I did the Highway Patrol, and then got back in PLC program, and Marine Corps gave me a 1 year graduation date extension. Say, "Okay, you got your contract still. Just get that college degree." And
that's
the Highway
perfect.
Patrol gave me a military leave of absence. So when I left the Highway Patrol, turned all my guns and car back in the summer of '83, went and I immediately drove to Quantico, Virginia. And I had a badge as a state trooper almost my entire Marine Corps career. So I got out of jail for free a lot
That's awesome.
for speeding.
It's a beautiful thing. So, one other quick question, and I'm trying to dig back in my memory, but I'm pretty sure this was you. Did you film a Harrier commercial with the Arizona State Patrol about?
No, that wasn't me actually, but that was it was Yuma guys. They tried to get me, but I was forward deployed. I think I was in Westpac or something. So they used who was it? They used so they actually filmed a Harrier doing a rolling vertical landing
to pull a car over,
pulling a car over, and then had then they had the pilot in his flight gear, pretending to write a ticket to a civilian in a Mustang or something. It was pretty cool.
That was the Arizona Highway Patrol commercial.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. Yeah,
I'll be damned.
road patrol by air, that sort of thing. Do you have a copy of that video by chance?
I probably
looked for
have
it on YouTube, and I can't.
I know I have photos of it at least.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the guy that. If I get back to you later on about who the pilot was, you can talk to him about that. May find him.
Okay. Yeah.
So hey, you did two OCSs, right?
I did PLC juniors and seniors. Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any good? Do you have any fond memories of any of your drilling instructors at?
Well, I think I tried to lay low, but I think the biggest one was I think PLC juniors. We had a candidate who made a mistake of lighting up a cigarette when the smoking lamp was not lit.
Oh boy.
And all men, they went, this is 1979 when they could still do a lot of incentive PT and things that they probably can't do now.
Oh yeah.
And I remember they got us all in a big in a school circle, and they had this candidate and they threw him into a wall locker with every pack of cigarettes they could find. They'd confiscated from cans when they showed up. So this guy must have had, I'm going to say maybe 6 or 8 packs of cigarettes and a couple big lighters. And they throw them in the wall locker, lock them in there, and they told them, you either smoke all those cigarettes, you eat them all. You're not coming on that damn wall locker to eat, all the cigarettes are gone. Then they're beating on the wall locker with brooms and mops, yelling at them. Smoke's starting to come out of the vents. This guy's trying to smoke all these cigarettes, and then he got sick, and he was in there for a long time. He was throwing up.
Oh, no.
It was pretty bad. And so nobody ever smoked a cigarette after that, though, I tell you,
I don't know why you would.
Yeah, the drill instructors were pretty. A lot of and when I went back as a major at OCS as a company commander years later.
Yeah, I heard this. Was this after
the Blues? Yeah,
the Blues. So were you going to a school then?
I was going to Marine Corps Command and Staff College, so I had a gap, and so I wanted to go do something in Quantico, and I ended up at OCS, which is fun, pushing candidates through as a major now. So I got platoon commanders, Marine captains, and the drill instructors worked for me. And they had very strict, this is now 1995, right? Okay. 96 now. Yeah. And so very strict rules. Mothers of America and congressmen had forced the Marine Corps to change how they handled recruits and candidates in a much more gentler and kinder way.
Sure.
So one of the rules was no more incentive PT. You can only drop a candidate for 20 push-ups for a rifle violation, mishandling a weapon. That was it. Outside of scheduled PT, the only other alternative they had to punish candidates was a 500-word essay. And they said, and they would fire you on the spot, anybody who was involved in any kind of mishandling of candidates. So I got my first essay from a candidate who actually had run by me and failed to recognize me as Major Hancock. So of course he got jumped on and he was assigned a 500-word essay. And I got this essay a few days later, and it was a work of art. So the drill instructors took this 500-word essay and they translated it into only going to count words that are 6 letters or greater as 500 words.
Okay.
And you had to underline, handwritten had to underline each 6-letter word and then number it. This candidate, so candidate would be underline number 1.
Yeah.
And they had to finish on a 6-letter word or greater with 500 6-letter words or greater. It was like this masterpiece of, oh my God, these drill instructors, they know how to, how to twist it.
Side
make
note,
it as painful as possible. Yeah.
I had 13 300-word essays assigned to me while I was at OCS.
What?
13, 300 words. Didn't have to number them. Just had to be 300 words, no more, no less.
But you're in your rack at night, probably doing it at night with a flashlight, probably.
Yes,
right? Because you don't have all the time to do it.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So drill instructors, it's the art and science of being a drill instructor. And I had to keep same thing there as a major, just try to keep them laughing.
Right.
Because when you're watching it, it's funnier than shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
When you're not on the receiving end.
Exactly.
As long as you're not on the receiving end,
Yeah.
you can see the humor in it.
Yeah.
Those guys are masters.
So Curly was our other honor grad, and he actually told me offline that at one point he never got a chit. So the last day of OCS, he got called in and got a chit for not getting a chit.
What?
So,
Well, I got called in right away at PLC Juniors because they thought I had an attitude, even though I was a 305th year and was, walking the line and yes or no, sir. They thought I was smirking a lot, like smiling, like, what's wrong with you, Cannon Hancock? So I got called into the platoon commander's office.
It's just the way it looks, sir.
Yeah. Drill instructors yelling at me. They thought I had an attitude problem. And so I asked if I could speak freely. And they said, go ahead, candidate. So I told them about First Sergeant Ben W. Hancock, my dad, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Hearts, Vietnam, Green Beret, about when we were little boys, my brothers and I. If you cried for any reason as a boy, you got treated like a girl. You're going to act like a girl, you're going to dress like a girl. He'd put my sister's dress on us, a baby bonnet, and gave us a baby bottle and put you in the front yard, make you stand in the front yard of your house for 2 hours in front of all your friends, people walking down the street, like, what's this friggin' kid, boy, stand? This is 1960s. This is,
Right.
It wasn't cool to dress like a girl when you're, a young boy. No, and so weird. I said, unless you're going to put me to the Marines, unless you're going to put me in a dress in Georgetown on Liberty Weekend, nothing you do is going to come near to the way I was raised. So I know you guys are doing your job. I respect that. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing kind of with you, if you will. And they said, Cannon Hancock, you're dismissed. And they threw me out of there.
Nice. Nice.
So.
Oh, that's good. That's good
beautiful
stuff.
That's beautiful.
All right. So the basic school, let's see.
Yeah, basic school. Yeah,
Well, so when you went to seniors, then you had to finish school. So you had finished school, you got commissioned, then you went to the basic school.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, I went back to school, Arizona State, full time. Got my degree in May of '83. Got commissioned the same day with the Army, Air Force folks. I don't think there was Navy there, just a few Marines, Air Force ROTC, Navy, Army ROTC. Spent the rest of the summer working highway patrol until I was ready to go to Quantico for a Gulf Company 83. And I drove my Mustang across the country and went to TVS, which I really kind of enjoyed for the most part. Running around the woods, playing shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Of course, anybody who had remember the acronym FIGMAC?
Yeah.
Fuck it, I got my air contract.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So all the, about half my company had an air contract. It was a really big percentage. And so we'd run around, and I actually enjoyed it for the most part, offensive, defensive, combat, all the stuff you do at TBS. But most guys, of course, you don't want to get your rifle dirty, especially before a Saturday inspection.
Right.
And so the guys would pretend to shoot, Buddha, 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 Buddha. And they would take all their,
It's like guns and flares and chaff in the Harrier, right? Flares. Buddha, Buddha,
that
Buddha.
Works, right? Yeah, Buddha, 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 Buddha. Running around the woods in Quantico, pretending you're shooting people, and then dropping all of their actual rounds, blanks, because blanks are really dirty. When you shoot a blank round through a rifle, it's really foul.
It's horrible.
And guys are burying their rounds in dirt and mud and stuff, and would maybe shoot one round and then do the Buddha, Buddha, Buddha with the rest of it, so they could not to get the rifle dirty. So I went through TBS for the most part, enjoyed it. And while I was there, the Mat 6 CO came. I know we don't say names here, but his call sign's called him Bull. So he's a full bird colonel, helicopter, Vietnam veteran, big guy. And he brings a T-34 into Quantico with a student pilot. And we got all the Avies get called to O'Bannon Hall, whatever it was, the auditorium.
Yeah.
And we think we're going to get a motivational speech about, hey, you guys are so close to graduating TBS and joining us down here in the promised land, Pensacola, Florida. We're all pumped up, and the colonel gets on the stage, and it was all negative. It was really negative about how poorly Marine students were doing in Pensacola academically, guys getting in trouble out in town and, drunk and stupid, and I'll have your ass, and you better come prepared, and you better said. And so he had all these boxes of books shipped to the basic school for these self-paced books about trigonometry, algebra 1, 2, and 3.
What?
Geometry. Yeah, all these mathematical. I'm a criminal justice major. I barely got through math for athletes. Consumer math was hard. Which costs more, the 32-ounce can of pork and beans for this price, or the 60 ounce can of pork and beans? So I'm like, shit. So I took all those books, went through all the books, and then took one of my buddy's books and went to he was a Naval Academy grad, aeronautical engineer. He wasn't going to do those damn self-paced books. I did his books, and I still felt, man, I'm not going to make it. I can do this infantry stuff. I like this stuff. Flight school was the great unknown, right?
Sure.
I'm going to go down there and fail out. So I went to see my company commander, Major, let's call him Steve, infantry officer.
All right.
And I asked permission to speak to the major. And I thought he was going to give me a bear hug when I tell him I want to convert to infantry, drop my air contract. I finished number 2 at TBS. So I'd done well enough. I thought, okay, he'll want me to be one.
Number 2?
Yeah.
Number 2?
Slacker.
Yeah, I missed out. Yeah. I didn't get number 1. I was a slacker.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, so
I was 2 from the bottom, I think.
Hey, sir, I'd like to drop my air contract and go to infantry officer course. He goes, are you a fucking idiot? You want to do what? So instead of the bear hug and, hey, we converted the guy, you know?
Yeah.
He's chewing my ass. Like, what? I'm standing there in a position of attention now. He goes, Lieutenant Hancock, you're an idiot. He goes, let me tell you something. If you tell anybody else this, you will not graduate next week from TBS. Says, I went to flight school to Pensacola with an air contract years ago. And I pissed it away chasing girls and drinking too much beer in Seville Quarter.
Right.
And didn't study hard enough, and I washed out. And I came back and became a successful Marine Corps infantry officer. He goes, but I'm beat to hell. My body, my knees, my back. He goes, do yourself a favor, son. Go to Pensacola. Try flight school. If you don't like it, you don't do well, you get air sick or something, I guarantee we'll bring you back and put you in ILC, infantry officer course. So I got saved by an infantry officer who convinced me to give flight school a shot.
That's ironic.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
You'll
awesome.
go figure, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He did you a big favor.
Yeah, but then I got to flight school. Of course, you do academics first, right? And swim, water survival.
In engineering, water survival.
Yeah. So I go to academics, and the first day of school was some engineering course with some Navy ECMO geek, NFO type guy, A6 guy up there in khakis. And there's like 70 students in the classroom, a few Marines, mostly Navy, and a few Coast Guard guys, and of all walks of life in schools. And I was number 7 in the first row. And he said, okay, I want everybody to stand up, state your name, where'd you go to school, and what'd you study? So the first 6 guys, Naval Academy, aeronautical engineering, or Purdue University, mechanical engineering. Like, oh my God. All 6 guys in front of me had all went to really nice, prestigious schools.
Sure.
And had studied engineering of some type. I go, oh my God, it's a setup. So I stood up. Second Lieutenant Ben Hancock, Arizona State University, criminal justice. And they laughed at me. I go, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. But you know how it is. Determination, hard work, just regurgitate whatever the Navy tells you is, and spit it back on the test and go fly airplanes. You make it work.
Nice.
Well, it worked, right? Yeah. It worked.
It worked. Yeah. But I was still doubtful. I got jets. Thankfully, I got lucky. Went to Kingsville, Texas. Which I really thought was man. I got to admit, I'm a geek, but my first solo in the T-34, the poem High Flight by Gillespie?
Yes.
He was written in World War II, I believe by a Canadian Air Force pilot who penned it, I think, in a poem to his mom, I think the story goes. It's a great poem, right?
Right.
The Air Force, in the military, you grow up, you go to an Air Force base or a theater and you screen parts, and the first thing you do is stand at attention for the national anthem. And then the Air Force always played High Flight. So I thought that was a great poem. So I memorized that poem and I knew that poem. And the first time I sold a Navy T-34, I recited, it sounds geeky, but I recited, I'm getting paid to fly this really fantastic aerobatic turboprop. And I couldn't help but recite the poem High Flight in honor of that guy. Anyway, so I get to Kingsville, T2 Buckeyes, VT-23. My timing was perfect. There was no students. They had more jets and IPs than they had students.
Wow, that's unheard of.
Yeah,
everybody gets pooled.
So it was me and one Navy ensign started T2 Buckeyes, intermediate jets together.
Class of 2. That's unheard of. 2
of us.
Yeah.
Of course, guess who he is? Naval Academy grad.
Of course.
He goes, you got to be kidding me, man. So I go, I'm going to get blown out of the water by this guy. And he was a very smart guy. He was a brainiac. They call him Tony. Let's call him Tony. So Tony and I start ground school together, and he's just acing this stuff, blowing through it. But one of those guys that was really smart but just couldn't put the eye-hand coordination together in the airplane. You know what I mean? Did well in T-34s with jets. Things happen faster. He just struggled. So every phase, he got it down. And I was moving ahead. So I actually left him behind. And then they tried at him about midway through jets and sent him either P3s or something. So when I got my wings later, I went temporary also duty back to Arizona State, NAU, U of A, you know.
Yeah. So help recruiting other officers into the program you came into.
Yeah, great. And also, hey, bring your flight gear and flight suits, you know, and try to get some guys that want to fly airplanes in the Marine Corps. So I'm at Arizona State one day with the table set up. I had all my flight gear and helmet and G suit and all this stuff, and had a big crowd gathered around. The OSO standing behind me. You know, he's an arty guy, and he's fired up because I got all these guys interested in aviation. And so this one guy goes, "Hey, how hard was flight school?" I said, "It was challenging, but you know, work hard, you make through it." He said, "What was the attrition rate?" I said, 50% in my class. Goes, what? Yeah, 50% of I couldn't help it, you know, throw that out there. He goes, "Well, how did you do?" I said, "I was number one." So then I told him, I go, "There's only two of us." And the other guy didn't make it.
That's unheard of. That's awesome.
But my timing was good because I got through pretty quick and got my wings and jets and got lucky and then went Harriers. So
nice.
You know.
Was that your first choice?
You know, it was. And, you know, I'll tell you, I'm not going to say I love the Harrier. I got 2,000 hours of mishap-free flight time in it, my time. But, you know, I got lucky to mix it up with other airplanes too. But, you know, if I could go back, you never can go back. But if I could do it, I think I would have, dream would have been F4 Phantoms, Hawaii, F-18 transition. I've always thought the Phantom was a really iconic jet.
Oh, yeah.
So they were giving up the very last F4 Phantom orders. And I passed up Phantoms and Hornets. The Marine Corps was smart enough. They flew two brand new AVABs into Kingsville, Texas. And these guys did a V-stall show, you know, landed. And I never saw an F-18 there during my time. So they brought these Harriers in brand new, smelled like a new car, you know, showed us the cockpit, like glass cockpit. I thought, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, compared to the TA-4J.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Technology. And so I said, hey, and these guys convinced you want to be a Marine pilot and you want to support Marines on the ground, the Harrier is the way to go. So I signed up. I said, I want Harriers. If I'd done well enough, I think I could have selected what I wanted out of there. So I went to 203. Here I come.
Yeah, 203, the Harrier rag. So.
You know, Hornet did as much combat as the Harrier did, right? I mean, it wasn't like the Hornet guys were back in Conus. Well, Harrier guys were dropping bombs. I mean, sometimes the Mew were doing stuff, you know, maybe off a Mew that the Hornet guys weren't there. But typically, if it's something big, you know, Hornets were there, right. F-16s there, A-10s, F-15s, you know, all the major players got to participate in the end anyway.
Right. In fact, as I recall, you were with the Bumblebees in 331 during Gulf War I. Am I correct?
You bet. Yep. We did. I went to 203, then I went to 331, did a Westpac, did the very first ever AVAB Westpac, Iwakuni, Japan. And there's always some good stories from there too, good and bad. And I went there on the skipper's A team, then I went to the B team. It's a couple of stories there, but why I got on this shit list literally in Iwakuni.
I find that.
Did you run over the zero hangar?
What's that?
Did you run over the zero hangar?
The zero? No, I didn't. Well, I'll tell you one story from there. So our skipper, and I'll be careful here. The skipper was really political, and he wanted to make full bird colonel, and he was determined to make full bird. And back then, they didn't have boards for command slate. You basically, if the commanding general, whoever liked you, you know, he could make you a group commander, you're a colonel. Same thing as squadron commander. You know, group commanders and CGs can make you a squadron commander before they had command screen boards. So his goal, he made it clear to all of us, I'm going to be a full bird colonel, and I'm going to command MAG 12. I'm coming back here, and you guys are going to get me there. You know, so we were a very talented squadron. We had a lot of good guys, and we made 331 then. You know, first AVAB squadron, first Westpac, a lot of good guys wanted to go. So he was giving this brief about the Harrier capability to all the big dogs. First, you know, MAG 12 CO, and then the wing commanding general, and then the MEF commanding general, and then he had the admiral in charge of all Westpac, all Pacific. Basically, St. Pac was going to come to our ready room at Iwakuni to listen to our skipper give a brief on the Harrier capabilities. It was a brand new asset in Westpac, especially with Korea and all that.
Hey, Lawman, what year is this?
1989.
89. All right.
Yeah, we went June to December of 89. Nice. Transpaced all the way over there and transpaced back. And then 542 took our spot. So this is the big deal to the skipper, and we all had to be there. Every pilot had to be in the flight in a flight suit, polished boots, in the ready room as an audience, an attentive, interested audience. While he gave his brief with remember the old slideshows,
Yep. Sure. So he didn't have applause signs and
almost like that. Yeah, everybody clap now. And of course, being a bunch of JLs, he was saying a bunch of bullshit about the range of the Harrier taking off with no tankers, going from Iwakuni to range targets in North Korea and come back with a full load of bombs. 6 Mark 82s with no tank. Yeah, we're all like going bullshit, in the back. But he would point to the whole history of the squadron on these pictures on the wall, and he would talk about VMSB 331 in World War II, and he'd go through the whole thing from jet age and all that. The whole history was boring as hell. It really sucked. So Admiral Moss was going to come to our squadron and listen to Lieutenant Colonel give this brief. And the point of time came, it was a Friday afternoon. We're not flying. Smurf, remember Smurf?
Yeah. Yes.
Smurf was the only guy he was going to take a jet out for a maintenance check flight. Nobody else was flying because of this dog and pony show with this admiral. We polished rocks and stuff, clean things up. And so the point of time comes and there's no admiral. Then a half an hour goes by, then an hour, then maybe an hour and a half. Like, where's the admiral? And we were stuck on the second deck of the ready room, the hangar. Yeah. Can't leave. And so Dickie Joe, Snake, was their XO. So Snake was the XO, Hobbit was the OPSO. And I made the excuse I need to go down and use the head. There was no head upstairs. Maybe excuse go use the bathroom downstairs. So Snake, all right, long man, but you get right back up here. I went down to the phone in S1, admin, and I used like toilet paper or something or paper towels, and I muffled the phone, and I called the ready room. And,
God bless you.
Yeah. And Pope was the ODO captain.
Yeah.
Captain, blah, 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 VMA 331 ready room, I help you, sir. I said, and I disguised my voice pretty well, I thought. And I said, hey, this is Lieutenant Savoy. I pulled a name out of my ass, Savoy.
Yeah.
I am Admiral Maz's personal aide, and I'm calling to regret to inform you that the Admiral can't make the brief today. The C-12 broke down in Atsugi Naval Air Station. He's unable to attend. And Pope tells the ready room, and I can hear guys above me cheering and all right, the brief's been canceled. And then the XO walks. Oh, who's this? Who's this again? This is Lieutenant Savoy, Admiral Maz's personal aide. So I repeat the whole story to somebody else, and then they're getting ready to break chalks and send everybody home. And but somebody goes, wait, let me talk to this. And say, wait, Lawman, is that you? They heard my voice and they go, yeah, it's me. I'm just playing a joke. God damn it, it's Lawman playing a joke. Everybody stay put. Well, everybody heard that except for Smurf, who had just done his paperwork after the maintenance flight. He bolts downstairs. The skipper's outside in his piss cutter and flight suit. It's hot. It's August. He's pacing back and forth in the hot sun with his note cards, memorizing his speech.
Right.
And Smurf almost knocks him over. He goes, hey, sir. And he goes, skipper, hey, where you going? The admiral's coming any minute. No, he's not, sir. The aide just called the ready room. They're not coming. What? Oh, damn it. So he doesn't go upstairs to verify this. He goes and Smurf didn't hear the joke part. So the skipper walks into his office on the first deck and calls base operations where the commanding general's waiting, the group commander, the base commander, and little brass quintet from the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing Band, and the tour, the whole welcome carpet, the red carpet treatment. For this major, admiral coming in.
For the sink pack.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. He goes, hey, sir, this is Lieutenant Colonel, such and such. Hey, we just got the call from the admiral's aide. They're not coming. Oh, what? Oh, okay. Everybody stand down. Put the band back on the bus. Roll the carpet up. And they started to disperse. Then the skipper walks upstairs, and I'm talking to Snake and Hobbit at the top of the ladder well. And the skipper's all sweaty, and he's upset. Well, Snake, go ahead and dismiss the guys. No sense hanging around here. Well, why is that, sir? Well, didn't you get a phone call? The brief's been canceled, right? Nobody's coming. Oh, sir, that was Lawman playing a joke on Pope. Oh, my God.
He's already turned the band away.
Now he's trying to go put the toothpaste back in the tube.
They called back the base ops, and they get the bat back out there. He's still coming. And no kidding. The C-12s are like short final.
No.
Oh, yeah. I think they barely made it. They got enough of an entourage that somebody met the admiral, and they bring him right over to 331, and the skipper's so rattled, he's a mess. And plus, we had, of course, being junior officers, we had moved all the pictures around, rearranged the historic sequence of photo,
Yes.
And so he's pointing to the wrong picture. Then he's all confused, and it was a mess. So then we all, of course, adjourned to the O Club.
Yes. Where
the admiral hears about this story somehow. I get called over. Now, the admiral thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
The group commander thinks it's funny. I think the wing CG thought it was funny.
Yeah, but the skipper
Everybody thought it was funny, but the skipper. So later on at the O Club that evening, we get the word, all officers meeting 0730 Saturday morning, VMA 331. And everyone looks at me and goes, oh, man, this is your fault. So we all go back over there. We're all in our flight suits in the ready room and waiting for the skipper to come up. He doesn't show up. Snake goes downstairs, comes back up. He said, gentlemen, the skipper is so upset he can't talk to you. He goes, but here's the new rules. He goes, number one, for the remainder of Westpac, there'll be no more laughing, scratching, joking around. Everybody will be serious about this job over here. Number two, Lawman, you are prohibited from using the telephone for the remainder of Westpac. I go, what? He goes, you are not allowed to touch a telephone. I go, yes, sir. Then he says, this will be here. We're going to refer to this as the Lieutenant Savoy incident. And Lawman needs to see my office right now. So I go downstairs with him and he goes, I got the skipper's personal shit list right here in front of him. And it was written in purple felt, and the skipper used purple felt pens to make sure it was him. Uh-huh. And he said, Lawman, and it says shit list. He said the first three names is Lawman, and Lawman. Number 4 was Smurf. The brief's been canceled. The brief's been called Paul Revere for a while. And he said, this has nothing to do with what happened yesterday, but I got to send somebody to Pohang, Korea for 2 weeks of duty in the field as a fixed wing fragger.
And guess who that is?
Pack your shit. You're going to Korea.
Has nothing to do with yesterday, though.
Oh, yeah. So I was, skipper did not like me after that and another incident. But anyway, that's where I got my worst fitness report. So I got one that was adverse initially from my maintenance officer. I went from being a star, 1 of 6 in maintenance to the bottom feeder
to 7 of 6.
Oh yes. How low can you go? In the old system. Remember the old system?
Yes.
I got like basically like unsats or below averages. Like, holy cow, man! I knew this was a career ender.
Yeah.
It's a double signer.
Yeah. Well, and highway patrol's looking better all the time.
Yeah,
right?
man. The maintenance officer's like, I'm sorry to do this, but the skipper told me it's either you or me. So he told me to hammer you. Wow. And so I said, hey, tell you what, I said, just take section C and just write motherfucker and I'll sign it. I don't care at this point because I'm going to get out anyway. You just made my decision. I'm going to leave the Corps. But anyway, so somehow I survived. It got pulled. I think the group commander heard about it and told the skipper to change it back to something.
Lighten up, Francis.
Quite adverse because it was a joke. Anyway.
Come on. Lighten up, Francis.
Lighten up, Francis. Yeah. So that was kind of extended my West back a little bit. A few other things happened over there. Kind of fun. We had a great time. We went to Kubi Point before it shut down.
Yeah.
That was an experience.
See, we Westpacked in 92, the same time frame, but we went in 92 and Kubi was closed because the volcano had
Mount Pinatubo.
Mount Pinatubo erupted. I think when 231 was over there. Yeah. So I think it went us and then 542 and I believe 231 maybe.
Well, 231 was Westpack right when
they relieved us.
Yeah,
I think we relieved 542. So I think 542 was there when it blew.
Might have been them, yeah.
No. Hey, repeat. We relieved.
We relieved 214. That's right.
214.
The West Coast Squadron, the Black Sheep.
Okay,
I forgot about that. But
Hey, were those airplanes brand new, Lawman, when you guys took them to Westpac? Were they brand new?
The Bs are, RAVBs are pretty much brand new. And the skipper was big on paint. We had 400 pounds of paint on each jet. We painted.
Sure.
It was really. Yeah, we overdid it, dog and pony. Yeah, but pretty brand new airplanes. And I got lucky. I was as a first lieutenant before we went over. I went there to the captain, but I was a section lead, division lead, NATO's checker, instrument checker as a first lieutenant in VMA 331.
Holy cow!
It's a pretty cool deal back then. And then Did the med float with USS Guam, piece of shit boat, in '88 with Buckwheat, Satchmo, Oscar, Nightmare, Pope, a British exchange pilot, TC.
Oh, yeah, I remember TC. TC bought a bicycle from me when I was in Hawk Missiles, and I came back, and I got my very first ride in a T-Bird was in his back seat, and he showed me how you could hover in the braking stop. Like,
wow. Yeah. Well, he had a lot of, he was in a program back when the Royal Air Force pilots could either designate themselves to be a professional pilot and fly jets for their whole career or do the command track. And he was just a professional. He had a shitload of Harrier time for anybody our age. He was, much more experienced in the jet.
Right. Yeah.
Than American pilots were for the same time frame. But all he did was fly, but he was always cheating. On low levels, our minimum was 200 foot above the ground for section low level work. And TC was down there at 50 feet all the time, raging around like a Brit. And we always say, hey, TC, you gotta step it up, man. You gotta bring it up here, at least level with me. The Brits, they were aggressive.
Yeah.
And we snuck him over. In fact, our skipper wanted to take him on his boat deck, and headquarters Marine Corps said no, because we're going to spend a lot of time with the Spanish. And, the Brits and Spanish are still kind of butting heads. This is in the 1980s.
Yeah.
I guess there's still some friction there in that part of the world.
It's the whole Rock of Gibraltar thing.
Yeah, exactly. Gibraltar thing. Exactly. Yeah. It's still an issue. It's still a thing. So
it's still a thing.
Yeah. So the skipper was told, no, you can't take the Brit. Pick another American pilot. So our skipper, who ended up making 2-star, Naval Academy grad test pilot, really smart guy, said, fuck it, I'm going to send him anyway. And we disguised him as a Navy pilot because he had the long hair, the bushy mustache.
Right.
There's no way we can pass this guy off as a Marine. We can make him look a Navy pilot. So he became U.S. Navy, TC. And we landed over there, met the boat out of road to Spain, jumped on board the boat, floated around, did all that kind of stuff, went to Balikashir, Turkey. But my job, I'm the only sober guy. I didn't drink alcohol. I swore up alcohol as a state trooper. So my job was to get all these other drunk idiots back either to the base or back to the ship, herding drunk cats.
Oh,
and these guys in Road to Spain, I must have paid more bar fines, handed out more money to bartenders for broken shit that these guys, Buckwheat and these guys are breaking stuff. And Buckwheat had me steal a Navy staff car. We're supposed to meet some Marine Harrier pilot who was training the Spanish, the retired Harrier guy, old legendary guy, I can't remember his name, but I went to get a car from the motor pool, and they said, no, you can't have a car. You have to have special orders. Well, we don't have any orders. We're just a bunch of Harrier guys off the boat. Yeah. So Buckwheat said, go get me a damn car. So I found this paperwork, and I forged it. And Buckwheat signed it. So we illegally took a black and white Navy sedan with illegal paperwork out the front gate. And the Spanish guys are really looking at his paperwork closely, but they waved us through. Went to all these bars, broke a bunch of shit, got in a lot of trouble. On the way back, I'm driving this car with all these drunk Marines with me, and we're going on this highway, this twisty mountainous road, and one of them they're grinding the right doors against the guardrail. They're opening the doors at like 60 kilometers, and they're grinding the doors against the guardrail.
No.
Sparks are flying. They think it's funnier than shit,
No.
Oh, I'm not kidding. Yeah, they're grinding the doors. So I can't cross the lane because of traffic. So I'm stuck against this guardrail, and the doors are open. Sparks are flying. I signed for this car, Captain Hancock. We get back to the BOQ on base, and I parked the car, and they ambushed me with fire extinguishers, but they weren't fire extinguishers; they were chemicals. So my brother Harrier pilots attacked me in the lobby with chemical fire extinguishers. I turned green the next day. I had washing chemicals off me.
Oh no!
We went and turned the car in. I parked it with all the damage on the far side of the parking lot, so they couldn't see the obvious damage to this car we had done.
Yeah. And
we ran to our jets and flew on board the USS Guam. And I thought for sure there'd be paperwork following me. I never heard about it again, but that was. And then TC jumped out of a jet in Balikashir, Turkey.
No.
Yeah, we're doing display determination. It was the last day of the exercise. Hornets with us in a tent city. Satchmo, we were flying with these F-5 guys, Turkish F-104s and F-5s. They love Satchmo. They kept wanting to take him to a Turkish bathhouse. I don't know what it's about him. They didn't like me so much, but he and I were a section. at one point. They love Satchmo. He's a big guy, the big bush mustache.
Yeah.
Oh, you come take Turkish bath with us. Oh, maybe next time. Oh, you come take Turkish bath. We show you Turkish bath. And so the last day of the exercise, we're down. We had only had 4 jets, and we made him say, "Hey, we only have 1 jet left for the next section." It was TC, and I had briefed this mission to fly with some Hornets and F-104s, do a target strike, Air Force aggressors, and then come back in for a photo shoot over the head of the airfield. 1 jet's left, so TC and I flipped the coin in this tent, in a GP tent, for who gets to fly this last sortie on this exercise. So he launches with 2 Hornets, 2 104s, low-level strike, come back in, and supposed to come back for the overhead. 2 Hornets, 2 Harriers, well, supposed to be in the 2 104s.
Yeah.
And 2 F-104s come back in by themselves. Wait, what's going on? And then 1 Hornet comes back. I look out to the south end of the airfield, and I see this big billowing black cloud of smoke.
Oh, no.
And I went in immediately, and I told Buckwheat, I go, we got a jet down south of the airfield. He goes, how do you know it's a Harrier? I go, well, there's a Hornet out there, and there's a Harrier. Which one do you think it is? And sure as shit, it was the Harrier. The Hornet flight lead looked back at TC and Echelon and said, hey, TC, you're on fire. No firelight.
Yeah.
TC looks in his mirrors, and sure as shit, he's got flames out the ass end of the airplane, so he ejects. So TC took the jet we flipped the coin for and jumped out of it in Balikashir, Turkey. And then, of course, we had to tell the whole world that the mishap pilot
was actually a Brit.
Royal Air Force.
He was Navy. Oh, yeah, Air Force. That's right. He was RAF.
Royal Air Force pilot flying a U.S. Marine Corps airplane in a NATO exercise in Turkey.
Whoops.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So TC got to jump out of one. Yeah.
So what was the cause of that, Lawman?
Turbine blade failure. Catastrophic engine. Yeah. Some of the blade, or maybe a compressor blade, shit itself and went down the whole section, and then got the turbine section,
So that may have been the first one of several, right?
It was probably one of the first ones. That was 88. So that was early on. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a rash of those.
We had countless after that. I can't remember how many. VMA 331, the Bumblebees. One point, I don't think I'm exaggerating. 7 Class A mishaps over maybe a 5-year period.
That sounds about right. It was horrible. Yeah.
Yep.
It was. It was the worst mishap rate.
Maybe one of those might have been pilot error. The rest are all catastrophic.
Yeah.
Nightmare jumped out of one.
Yeah, he had the flap impingement.
We had Jazz. He was the very first lieutenant to jump out of an AV-8B with flap impingement when nobody believed it was flap impingement because the engineer said it can't happen. It's a redundant system.
Yeah.
What the lieutenant is saying couldn't have happened.
Weren't they going to pull his wings?
Huh?
They were going to pull his wings, right?
It took him a year. Jazz, who actually gave me I'm thankful for him. He gave me my call sign, or he nominated me for Lawman when they were trying to give me a call sign in BMA 331. Jazz, thank God, put on the whiteboard Lawman, because I had other nominations were Festus or, Barney, the Barney with the one bullet. They're all like law enforcement related, cuffs or sticks or policewoman. Thank God policewoman was too long to say on the radio.
It's too many syllables. No, Lawman's perfect, man. Yeah. Come on.
So thank God Jazz nominated me for Lawman, and Lawman won the vote. But Jazz was the very first Marine first lieutenant to jump out of an AV-8B, McDonnell Douglas AV-8B, flap impingement on a GCA wave off, Cherry Point. Barely got a swing in the chute and got out of the jet. Barely lived.
Yeah.
And they wanted his ass. Oh, yeah. Headquarters Marine Corps, the wing, everybody. Man, he had to fight for probably about a year to get reinstated. And then, of course, I don't blame him. As soon as he was free to leave the Marine Corps, he left and went to American Airlines, or a major, put it that way.
Yeah.
And then you remember Julio? Hey, do you guys remember Julio Yaguez?
Julio was with us, yeah.
So he was a Spanish exchange pilot in VMA 223. And he jumped out. Well, he literally jumped out of an airplane that burst into flames as he was taking off. I was walking into the hangar. I just finished flying, and I remember how you'd run it up, check the nozzle pressure, and then hit military power.
Yep.
I heard all that going in the background. I was walking in, and then it sounded like somebody had thrown a match on a barbecue grill after they dumped a whole bottle of lighter fluid. I heard this whoosh. I turn around, and all I see is the nose of a Harrier going down the runway with this giant ball of flame behind it. He got it to a stop. The canopy came open, and he took one step and landed in the grass.
Wow. Holy cow, yeah.
But that was an intact airplane, and that was the beginning of it was turbine failure.
Yeah.
And they had an airplane intact, and they had turbine blades to look at, and that's how they found out it was a batch. They grounded the whole fleet for
we had
time inspection.
I can't remember how we had all the red stripes we had. Remember the red stripe?
Yes.
A lot of guys even had the beer occasionally hanging, waiting to break it out when there's a red stripe. When they would ground the entire Harrier. It sucked, but I used to remember praying. Harrier would go down either Cherry Point, Yuma, on that somewhere, or Westpac or somewhere, and you would hope and pray. Hey, it sounds bad. I'm not trying to disparage the unlucky Harrier guy that was flying that jet, but I used to hope and pray it was a pilot error. Please let it be pilot error.
Right.
Because if it was pilot error, the rest was going to continue flying.
Yeah.
If it was questionable, catastrophic material failure, then you're looking to ground the fleet. Nobody's flying.
Right.
So it sounds a bunch of East German judges like hope that guy fucked it up and put the jet in the dirt. It was his fault.
Right. Because then we can learn from it, and as well.
Move on, yeah.
So
But we had so 331 had a boatload of mishaps, and sometimes just a matter who signed for that jet that day. That jet was going down, and no matter how good you were of a Harrier pilot, how well you knew your boldface, memory items, something breaks that's significant. That jet's going down with or without you. You're going to pull the handle or not? You're going to get out. Oscar, Nightmare, countless other guys. Thankfully, most of them, all the guys in Theater One, and for peacetime ejections, all got out and had a story to tell afterwards.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your service, and we're going to close it out here, and we're going to come back again next week with Lawman. I want to first take the opportunity to thank you for spending your time with us. We know there are millions of shows out there that you have to choose from, and the fact that you've chosen ours is a great honor and very humbling to us. So thank you. One other thing you could do for us is to please continue to do what you have been doing and helping our show grow by going to Apple Podcasts app and subscribing there if you happen to have an iOS device or a Mac device. If you're on Windows, then you can find us on all other manner of podcasting applications. We're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, we're on iHeart, we are on Stitcher, and anywhere that you can find a podcast, we're there. So go search for So There I Was podcast, and you'll find Fig and Repeat. If you'd like to give us feedback, we would certainly appreciate it, or if you have any questions, you can reach us by email. First is fig@sothereiwas.us or repeat@sothereiwas.us, repeat spelled R-E-P-E-T-E. You can follow us on Facebook at sothereiwas.us/Facebook or on Twitter at sothereiwas.us/Twitter. Also, I want to take just a moment to thank our sponsor, robinsbirdbraindesigns.com. She will work with you to create a custom gift that is very elegant and shows that you've put a lot of thought and effort into getting the perfect gift for someone who has everything and you don't know what to get them. She has custom laser-etched slate coasters. Mine have some aircraft instruments and my airplane's tail number on it. Fig has the squadron logo, VMA 223 squadron logo, and his call sign on it, and the call sign of all the members of his family. So work with Robin at robinsbirdbraindesigns.com, and she will help you get a military unit logo, airplane instruments, any other organization with which you're associated, and customize that for you. They are absolutely gorgeous. You can go to the sponsors page on sothereiwas.us and see an example of what that coaster looks like. The link to Robin's site is there, robinsbirdbraindesigns.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, stay safe and check 6.
'Cause it ain't so much the landing. Hell, why would I care? You never have a crosswind and you never have to flare. You got 4 fucking wires. Well, how could you miss? And I can't think of anything that's easier than this. But once you're on the deck, my friend, you're never the same again. 'Cause you're stuck on a boat in the middle of nowhere with 5,000 other men. Join the Navy? Hey, I don't think so. Living on a boat Yeah, I don't think so. Hot bunking. Yeah, I don't think so. Doing night trap. Fuck that. I don't think so. Sure, I thought about the Navy, but decided to pass. I love my five-star hotels and per diem out the ass. I do all of my fighting well within the shore. Cable TVs and cappuccinos, that's the way that you fight a war. This spoiled life, it can grow. When the coffee ain't fresh, sheets ain't soft, and the beer is only someone